All right, today we are diving into something pretty wild. It's a screenplay that honestly feels like three completely different movies just mashed together. You've got an online romance, then a straight-up murder plot, and on top of all that, this grand philosophical theory about achieving perfect happiness. So the big question is, how in the world do these things connect? Well, let's find out.
So, where does this all come from? It's a screenplay by Amitosh Ram Naudial. And get this title, Super Happiness, A Gift to World. Yeah, A Gift to World. That's not exactly a subtle title, is it? It really sets the stage for something big, something bold, almost utopian. It tells you right from the get-go that we're in for quite a ride.
And really, that whole journey hinges on one central question. You've got these three storylines that seem to have absolutely nothing to do with each other. I mean, a romance that starts in an adult chat room, a dark crime story about an affair that ends in murder, and then this, philosophical quest for a new way to live. They are just completely different worlds. So how do they all link up? That's what we're here to figure out.
Okay, so here's our game plan for breaking this all down. First up, we'll get into the story of the cam girl and the student. Then, we'll switch gears completely to the prostitute and the cop. After that, we'll meet the scientist and his big idea. And finally, we'll figure out what super happiness even means and, how it all comes crashing together in the end.
All right, let's jump right into our first story. This one's a digital romance, and it kicks off in, well, a pretty unlikely place, an adult chat room. The screenplay actually gives it a name, webcamxxx.com.
So let's meet the couple at the heart of this. On one side, you've got Alex. He's this earnest college kid from Australia, and he's studying horticulture, the science of plants. And on the other side, Liliana. She's a cam girl, working from her bedroom. I mean, these two are living in completely different universes, right? And the only thing connecting them is a laptop screen.
So their whole relationship kicks off with Alex trying to get Liliana's attention, but he doesn't use the usual cheesy pickup lines. Instead, he comes up with these super specific, kind of misspelled, but honestly pretty charming compliments. And Liliana, she absolutely loves it. She finds his unique way of describing things so exciting that she starts giving him free private shows, which is a huge no-no on the site.
And this is where you see their connection really start to grow, no pun intended. It moves way beyond just flirty chats. Alex actually starts teaching Liliana about what he studies, horticulture. They're talking about flowers, and he tells her this cool fact that most roses you buy aren't grown from seeds, they're grown from cuttings. And this just sparks something in her. She gets so inspired that she decides she wants to try growing them herself. It's this shared passion that turns it into a real bond. And that's when they decide to break the rules and give each other their actual phone numbers.
Okay, get ready for some serious whiplash. We're leaving that digital romance way behind because our second story drops us smack in the middle of a dark, gritty crime plot. Seriously, it feels like we just changed the channel to a completely different film.
So our main players here are Sam, a male prostitute who's new in town and looking for a rich client, and his target, the wife of a deputy superintendent of police, a really high-ranking cop. The script itself calls her a Jezebel.
And this whole thing just escalates so fast. Sam pretends to be a medical salesman to get his foot in the door. Before you know it, they're having a full-blown affair. Then, one day, bam, the DSP, the husband, comes home early and catches them. Together. He is furious. He tracks Sam down, hires a hitman, and has him killed. Just like that. Of course, the police investigate, and it all points back to the DSP. He gets arrested and sentenced, but only to 2 years in prison for arranging the whole thing.
And now let's get to our third and final storyline. And this is the philosophical core of the entire screenplay. Honestly, this is the story that everything else is going to end up revolving around.
Here we meet Ami and Eve. Both are brilliant scientists, and they meet for the first time as rivals at a science exhibition. Ami takes home first prize for a project on precision agriculture, and Eve comes in a close second with her work on organic farming.
But later on, Ami pulls Eve aside and tells her about his real passion project, his life's work, and it has nothing to do with farming. It's this huge, incredibly ambitious plan to literally engineer a state of super happiness for everyone, for all of society. He talks about this vision he has of a world where the best players, as he calls them, can reach this amazing state and just stay there.
Okay. So what exactly is this super happiness theory? It's the core of the whole story, so we need to get it. The screenplay actually gets super specific about it, so let's break it down.
All right, so according to Ami, our lives basically have two main states. The top tier, the absolute goal, is what he calls the super stage. This is where you experience constant super happiness. But, and this is a big but, it's super fragile. The most important thing is consistency, because if you mess up even a little, you fall right back down to the lower level, which he just calls happiness.
And this is where the theory gets, well, really specific. See this lower stage, happiness? It's not just one thing. He sees it as a ladder with 7 different rungs, 7 substages you have to climb to get back up to the superstage. And just look at these stages. It starts pretty normal, like being in harmony with your environment. But then it gets into these weirdly precise states like happiness with irritation towards family works, or happiness with wrong ideas in mind. What does that even mean? The lowest level of all is happiness with slight sadness. It's a really detailed kind of strange but also fascinating way to map out our emotional states.
So this is the moment we've been waiting for. How does this all connect? This is where those 3 totally random-seeming stories, the cam girl, the murder for hire, and the theory of happiness, finally start to weave together. And trust me, it happens in some really surprising ways.
I mean, up until now, these storylines could have been playing in 3 different theaters. But in the last act of the story, the walls between them just dissolve. Everything starts to converge, and it all centers on Ami and his big project.
And here's our first big connection. Remember the DSP, the cop from the second story who had his wife's lover killed? Well, guess where he is now? He's an inmate in the very same prison where Ami is running a rehabilitation program. Ami is in there teaching yoga and his super happiness principles to the prisoners. And it's the DSP, now a criminal himself, who asks Ami that question about the different stages of happiness.
And then the final piece of the puzzle falls into place. We cut to Alex and Liliana from our very first story. They're now married, they're running a successful flower business, and they're just walking down the street one day when they see a building with a sign. And the sign says, "Learn to live with super happiness." It's Ami's classroom, open to the public. And they look at each other and decide to go inside. And just like that, all 3 stories are finally in the same room.
So what are we left with? It's this wild, complex, and just unbelievably ambitious story that somehow ties together love, brutal violence, and deep philosophy. Remember, the screenplay calls itself a gift to the world. And that kind of leaves us with one last big question to think about. What can a vision this strange, but also this sincere, really suggest about our own, often very complicated search for happiness?